focus. Ideate, innovate, enable.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of CNBC-TV18 and Qualcomm present the 5G opportunity. As we all know, the Indian telecom players are currently looking to accelerate their 5G deployments with new and more cost-effective ways. This is where the concept of an open and virtualized mobile infrastructure, Open Radio Access Network, Open RAN, becomes critical. This technology enables telecom service providers to diversify supply chains, bring in unprecedented levels of interoperability and agility, which can help reduce their capex by almost 50%. Now, in a price-sensitive market like India, Open RAN will play a crucial role to ensure cost-effectiveness and an early deployment of 5G services. This technology also encourages innovation, as instead of replacing network gear to introduce new features and functions, through Open RAN, one can use software updates to affect change, shortening the upgrade and innovation cycles. Open RAN architecture has thrown up opportunities for Indian software equipment makers and system integrators to capture a piece of the growing global 5G market. We caught up with A.K. Tiwari, Member Technology Digital Communications Commission from the Department of Telecom to understand the Indian government's stance on this new technology.
Thank you, Rima, for having me on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, while 5G must be one of the most searched technology words on internet, Open RAN is most talked about in various 5G circles. The Open RAN architecture is striving to break proprietary interface in radio access network so that it helps in lowering the total cost of ownership of RAN networks. This enables several offerings from even small companies making choices wider. Cost of infrastructure is an important factor in rolling out the massive sized 5G networks. It is learned that Open RAN network architecture allows the operators to support multiple radios and also reduces the overall hardware cost. This facilitates a smaller, more manageable and more energy efficient installation footprint worldwide, globally. Ladies and gentlemen, fast and secure communication networks including LTE and 5G are the foundations for autonomous driving. 5G applications such as autonomous vehicles, connected vehicles and IoT will benefit from Open RAN deployed at the network edge, support network slicing, use cases efficiently and allow secure and efficient over-the-air firmware updates. Some of the challenges reported on Open RAN are carrier-grade scalability and system integration complexity. I am updated that these issues and also Open RAN standardization issues are being addressed in a faster pace. I am happy to note that several Indian companies including Sterlite, Redisys, Sankhya, Vividian are working on Open RAN products. Several Indian industry members are also part of global Open RAN alliances. Ladies and gentlemen, let me touch upon technology ecosystem in the country. DOT is excited to see several startups, SMEs and large companies in this 5G endeavor working on 5G technologies in the country. This reflects how the technology capacities are being developed in the country over decades with contribution from academia, industry, both local and global. Today, we witness domestic development in 5G core Open RAN, cross-haul, subsystems, NMS, IMS efforts both in mid and millimeter bands. Mid band is going to play a very active role in the beginning of the 5G. Active and young entrepreneurs are excited about large scale opportunities that 5G may through open in terms of large deployment of public private networks and also in the development of use cases for local and global markets. 5G would be a game changer in enabling technologies, programs in inching towards sustainable development goals by 2030. Taking note of the opportunity and available capacities, the Government of India is facilitating all necessary measures to empower the ecosystem players and stakeholders to realize Atmanirbharta in telecom technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, spectrum is an important and very scarce and costly resource to enable proliferation of 5G. As you have observed, there are active discussions and consultation from TRAI in the last few months and stakeholders on spectrum. After high level deliberations, DoT made references to TRAI on various spectrum bands with large quantities of spectrum identified for 5G services. As you have noticed, sufficient spectrum has been identified in all bands including sub 1 GHz, mid band and millimeter bands. Over 3,000 5G devices of various categories are reported to be available in global market in the bands announced or whatever have been offered from India. DoT is very confident that taking note of our identified bands and active allocation process, the market will respond to bring in many of these devices into Indian market soon. More the number of devices, more the choices for the public, enabling affordable 5G device in the country. At this cusp of transition, in next generation communications, the DoT exhorts and encourages more technology players and solution providers to come together to develop innovative products in these exciting times for the domestic and global markets. Soon we will have 1 GB speed in our homes and around 10 GB speed for robotic surgery, for remote location, drone applications in agriculture, mines, industry, and all these will be widely used with 5G. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sure 5G will be a game changer to enable India position as leading economic superpower. I wish you all the best to you and thank you.
With that, we slip into a quick break. Just a reminder for the viewers to log on to www.the5gopportunity.com for more updates. Welcome back to this very special episode of CNBC-TV18 and the Qualcomm present the 5G opportunity. Open RAN makes up majority of the network cost and enables telecom service providers to diversify supply chains, bring in extraordinary levels of interoperability and agility to help reduce their capex drastically. Indian telcos are eyeing Open RAN as a viable method to cut network-related costs and do more customizations as they upgrade their networks to 5G technology. So what are the opportunities for the Indian telecom industry with Open RAN? To discuss this and much more, we are joined by an esteemed panel of guests. We have Durga Maladi, the Senior Vice President, GM, 5G Broadband and RAN at Qualcomm, Mr. Tariq Amin, CEO at Rakuten Mobile and Rakuten Symphony, Mr. Ankit Agarwal, Managing Director at Sterlite Technologies Limited, and Pardeep Kohli, President and Chief Executive Officer at Mavenir. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in, and it's an absolute pleasure to see all of you here today. Open RAN is a hot topic now. So Durga, my first question to you is, why is there a need for telecom players to look beyond traditional RAN?
Thanks for having me, Rima. If you take a look at the way the networks are evolving, and specifically in the context of 5G, uh, our vision of 5G is very expansive. We wanted to scale up and down from nationwide networks all the way down to citywide, to networks that can be indoors or outdoors in manufacturing plants, to enterprises, to large scale cities, to venues, and so on. So there is a need for the network to be quite adaptable and actually scale up and down in a very seamless manner. And the way to do that is to, instead of thinking of a monolithic architecture for networks, think of a disaggregated network wherein you have the radios located in one place, you have a lot of the processing that is done in a different location, typically in a data center, and perhaps the actual core network itself is located somewhere in the cloud. And so, to be able to do this disaggregation of the network, there is a need to have interfaces that are well established, standardized, and open between different elements of the network. So, Open RAN, or ORAN in short, is something that is a set of specifications that allow for different component suppliers in the network itself. Those who supply the radios can interoperate with anyone who supplies the rest of the base station processing in a data center, who can then interop with anyone else who is located inside the cloud. So these ORAN based networks are absolutely critical as we kind of look ahead towards really bringing that 5G vision to bear in the market. And from our perspective in Qualcomm, we have been quite vocal and about it, not just from the vision standpoint, but a couple of years back, we then introduced our product portfolio, which wherein as Qualcomm, we do our part in bringing in the components into the radios and into the baseband processing so that we can assist the rest of the ecosystem putting together the complete solution. So ORAN in that sense is really the right technical solution as we move forwards.
Okay, so Open RAN is the right technical solution. It will make the network more agile. It will help in the scale up and scale down in a far more seamless manner. Ankit, would you like to add to the advantages of an Open RAN?
As the enterprise are looking to build private networks. So I think from various aspects, both as was mentioned, both outdoor and indoor capabilities, I think Oran presents a tremendous opportunity. I think we should also not ignore the fact that it should present at least between 20 to 30% savings in terms of capex and opex, which is also extremely critical as 5G will require massive amounts of networks to be built both on the wireless and the fixed side.
So OPEX and CAPEX savings of 20 to 30%. Mr. Kohli, how will Open RAN change the fortunes of the Indian telecom industry? It clearly seems that ORAN is the key to the 5G future in India.
Now with 5G picking up, India is a big, huge market. So if outside of China, India is the only place where you can actually get a huge amount of volume, right? And so there's a room for people to innovate, bring in new capabilities, and that's only possible if all these different components are using open interfaces. And so I believe that this is like the first opportunity in the wireless rollouts where there's a room for new companies to come in and bring innovation, so that not only it actually brings a lower cost, but also you can design these things to meet different requirements. So India definitely will have different use cases as compared with other markets, because of the needs in the rural area and the type of infrastructure India has, right? And to adopt to those use cases, you will require flexibility, and that will be possible with all the Open RAN capabilities because of the way the architecture is.
Flexibility, innovation, these are the key buzzwords. And telcos in India have warmed up to the idea of testing ORAN for prospective services. Mr. Tari, coming to you, why and how will Open RAN play a critical part of 5G in India, according to you?
Well, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be with you here today. I think Durga talked and mentioned the quality that Qualcomm believes that Open RAN delivers. My message to everybody is now Japan is opening its borders. I welcome anybody to come, see, experience an amazing quality network at an amazing architecture with a cost structure that traditional infrastructure will never be able to achieve. And then, of course, for us now running a real big, large network in Japan, is giving us amazing insights to not just only come with hardware software disaggregation, but the ability to run and manage this network at a scale that is just unimaginable with previous architecture. The productivity, the automation, the tool sets that exist are just absolutely remarkable. That's why I think now Open RAN destiny is utterly sealed in my books. I know it's going to be a very successful architecture once service providers sees the benefits it brings, not just only in cost, but the way you operate networks. I think this is going to be the mainstream. And then lastly, I'm excited about the diversity of suppliers that Open RAN is going to bring in. I think it's about time that we see diversification in supply chain. And that's why I believe this is going to be a really successful new architecture for defining today 5G and whatever tomorrow's network might be.
Mr. Tari, coming to the challenges, are there any challenges in implementation of Oran?
Well, I think if I tell you my own personal view, I would tell you the first challenge that we have faced is not necessarily about the technology. The biggest and most important challenge for us is about finding the right mindsets and finding the right skill sets. With Open RAN and the cloud architecture of the future network, now one has to examine what type of skill sets you need and what are the new telco of the future network architecture require as far as foundation and your employees. So for us, we invested heavily in individuals that came from cloud background, software background, IT industry background. We wanted to lean very heavily to drive the efficiency that existed in enterprise for decades into telecom. So we were very peculiar about growing the skill set. So that was the number one challenge that we had to do. Number two was, during this journey, we had to accept that maybe a traditional way of how we engage our suppliers will not work. We needed to create an ecosystem, a partnership, a collaboration of likely minded companies and individuals that really believed in this technology. And we all worked together as if we belonged to the same entity. And that was just such an incredible feeling for us in Japan. And third, I would tell you is, we should not give up. Yes, we're going to have, ups and downs during the implementation of such technology, but ultimately the end results and the benefits, it's a really amazing journey to take. I think it's worth the headaches that would come out of implementing Open RAN. But I think we need to start thinking of ourselves as a driving innovation at the speed and the agility of cloud. And the advantages that would come from it to a service provider is going to be remarkable.
Ankit, coming back to what you had earlier said, you said the next 3-4 years are going to be very critical. Can you talk about the investments, the capacity building that we will need to do for the future?
I think a massive amount of network infrastructure will need to get built out. Even in the wireless world, I think it's very important to understand that we still need a lot of fiber in the ground. Probably currently at the current rate, so China has about 700 million 5G users already. And they are already deploying 10 to 12 times an amount of optic fiber per year that India is doing. So there's a lot of infrastructure investment that needs to be built out. And that then links into back to the spectrum to say that it's very, very important that the government looks at 5G as an enabler for the GDP of the country through various other services, and hence is able to provide at very, very low cost the spectrum and meaningful size of spectrum, typically 100 megahertz plus, in the right frequency bands. And I think that urgency is there. I think the government is going to respond positively. And we are really looking forward that as the operators in India, get more and more warmed up to Open RAN, some of the use cases get established. We really believe that this can become front and center in the next 2 to 3 years.
And there is a remarkable opportunity for Oran to enable Make in India 5G solutions. Mr. Maladi, your thoughts on this?
I think it's an excellent opportunity at this point in time, as Oran networks there's a lot of activities related to Oran in India at this point in time. I've seen a ton of companies that are actually coming in with their own innovation into this space, primarily from a software background, working on different aspects of both the orchestration aspect of it, along with those who supply the layer 2 software or the layer 3 software. My perspective is that the future is quite bright. It needs to be fostered. It needs to be encouraged. It is something that's a longer journey than what one would expect from a traditional architecture. But at the end of the day, the rewards are actually to be seen. And that's the thing that we are actually looking forward to in India.
And Mr. Kohli, one final question. What are your thoughts on the future of Oran adoption in India?
No, say Oran, as I think everybody else pointed out, is a great opportunity for India. As it becomes more software, so India's strength has been, software, and of course, with all the software engineers we have in India, with hardware-based solution, you needed different type of infrastructure, right? You needed manufacturing capabilities, you needed, hardware capabilities to build a lot of boxes at big scale, and the kind of infrastructure which was required, India never actually had it. Now, as things become more and more software, right, then it's easy to then scale from that perspective. And India already has the capability to do software at a large scale. In fact, all the software companies in the world are relying on India to deliver a good, high quality software. So I think, this now addresses the capabilities which Indian software engineers can bring to the telecom sector as well, and have more innovative capabilities. And I believe the future is bright for India going forward in Open RAN space.
Well, unfortunately, gentlemen, we've run out of time. A big thank you to you for joining us on this very special discussion. With that, it's a wrap on the show, folks. Do not forget to log on to www.the5gopportunity.com for more information. Thank you for watching.